Good evening, everybody. So, as you can tell, it gets pretty loud pretty quickly in here. So, I appreciate if everybody holds all questions and comments to the end. I do have some index cards over here and some ink pens. If you have any questions, go ahead and write them down. Just raise your hand, and Andy and Matt in the red shirt will hand you a pen and an index card, and then they will come collect it. At the end of tonight's meeting, we will have a Q&A session, both for myself and for the representatives from the airport. So with that, we don't have a microphone, so that's why I'm saying try and keep all conversations to a minimum.
You're all talking.
Thank you, sir. We don't have a microphone, so I'm going to talk very loud. If we have to, we'll move seats forward. Again, try to keep all side conversations to a minimum, because you see how hard it gets to talk in here. All right, so with that, my name is Russ Bradford. I appreciate y'all for coming out tonight. As I said before, you see the gentleman walking around with the index cards. If you have a question, put it on the card, raise the card, and we will come collect those. There will be questions at the end of tonight's meeting. Is there anybody running for office or any currently elected officials in the room right now? Would you like to stand up and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to see all the neighbors of this district here together tonight. My name is Michelle Vetter. I'm a longtime resident of the Priest Lake area, representing District 29, and I'm running for City Council. And part of my projected plan is what happens in one district affects all of the other districts. And so I'm here tonight to get some factual information to share with the neighbors in our district. And I thank you very much for letting me come here tonight. Thank you, guys.
And we also, not to embarrass him, but we do have former school board rep Will Pinkston, who's joining us tonight. He used to represent this area on the school board. All right, so just the agenda for tonight. Tonight was one of my usual quarterly town halls. So I'm going to be giving a brief update of what's been going on the council and in the city. Some community updates, including some public safety updates from our Hermitage and South Precinct representatives. Then I'll briefly touch on some development updates going on in the district. And then we'll close out with Lisa Lankford from BNA to go over the long-term plans for the airport expansion and to try and put away some of the concerns that we've been hearing on social media about the eventual expansion of the airport. So over the last quarter, the last 3 months, one of the bills that passed on the council was a change to the home occupancy rules. Before, the Metro Code stated that you can only have 3 unrelated individuals living in a house. If you were related, there was no cap. The council passed a bill that raised that to, if it's a 3-bedroom house, you're still capped at 3 unrelated individuals. If it's a 4 or 5-bedroom house, that cap is raised to 5 unrelated individuals. We also, since our last community meeting, my second countywide piece of legislation passed. It was basically an update to our Title 8, which is the part of the Metro Code that deals with animals. It hasn't been updated in 20, 30 years. So out in conversations with the health department and Metro Animal Care Control, we decided it was time to go ahead and make those updates. And sorry if I'm getting in your way. So that bill passed after having a series of community meetings across the entire county to get input from residents all over the city, animal activists, animal welfare people, and from the city. So that bill passed last month. And as you all know, the last year and a half, we've been debating the East Bank and the Titans' new stadium. I did not support the legislation because I believe it was just a big handout to corporate interests and to a millionaire who owned the football team. I did not believe that it did enough to support the citizens of District 13. I did not think it did enough to support the citizens of Nashville overall. Unfortunately, I was in the minority. The bill passed, and within the next couple of years, there's going to be a brand new football stadium, and it's going to cost us roughly $2.2 billion. Now, last night, as part of the budget process, we had to approve the capital improvements budget. There was a line item on there that was to support the upgrades and the renovations of the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. As you've seen in the last couple of months on the news, NASCAR through Bristol Motorsports is wanting to lease this fairgrounds speedway. They want to tear down the current speedway and build a brand new 30,000 seat speed track right there at the fairgrounds. So the CIB amendment last night was to remove that and instead use $40 million of GO bonds to renovate it ourselves so that the speedway stays in our control and not the control of a third party. We were not able to get that changed, so that $100 million in revenue bonds stays in CIB. The next 4 meetings on the council, we're going to be debating the speedway. Again, the plan that's on the table does not protect the Nashville taxpayers, and so I'm not going to be supporting it. The current deal with NASCAR that they are offering us there's no backstop to any of the debt. That means if there's a race weekend planned, and then, as we know here in Nashville, sometimes we get rain for days and days on end. So if that race ends up getting canceled, that's ticket sales, concessions, and other revenue that's not being collected. That revenue that we're not collecting means there's a shortfall in that debt payment. Bristol and NASCAR are not backstopping that. So if that happens, guess who's paying that debt payment? You are. They also want complete control over scheduling of the fairgrounds. They want to be able to dictate when the flea market happens, when soccer has their games, when concerts happen. I'm sorry, but if I'm renting from someone, that's not how you do it. The landlord controls all that. So those are the 2 biggest reasons why the current deal that's coming before the council does not have my support. And so I'm hopeful that enough council members decide that this is an issue that needs to be taken up by the next council and the next mayor, and we kick it to the next term so that we have more time. Because as I say with the Titans, we had over 1.5 years of community meetings and discussion on the Titans Stadium. This $140 million speedway, we're going to have 4 council meetings to determine what happens. That's not enough time. So I'm going to be making sure that this bill does not pass this term, that we push it to the next term so that we have enough time to thoroughly vet this deal so that you, the taxpayers, are not on the hook. So the last meeting, we were able to kill a bill that would have legalized the firing of fireworks in Davidson County for 1 day, July 4th. Fireworks would still been illegal to buy or sell in Davidson County. The bill would have allowed you on July 4th from noon until 10:30 p.m. to fire fireworks. We already don't have the ability to police the current law. The whole concept behind this was, well, if we make it legal for 1 day, then that means we don't have to call the police for all these calls. But that still doesn't solve the problem of our veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorder, pets, and just the overall annoyance of when you have someone living behind you shooting out big commercial-grade fireworks. So until we have the ability to enforce the laws we have on the books, I'm not going to support expanding them and allowing more stuff to happen. So we were able to kill this bill. So this bill is dead, and we don't have to worry about it for the rest of this term. The last legislative update I wanted to let you know, and I'll put it in my next newsletter. My apologies, I forgot to put it in this month's. But if you go to the Metro Council website, There's now something called a district dashboard. When you click it, it's going to look like something like this. It's got all 35 council districts here on the side. And then on the bottom, it's got several tabs like population, education, ethnicity. And you can click through those, and it'll give you all the information about that council district. So I'm hopeful that this tool will be not only help me, but help residents to understand more about their neighbors and the community they live in. And if I start getting too quiet and you can't hear me, raise your hand and I'll get louder. Thank you. So the big part of tonight's meeting that I wanted to talk about was the budget. We are voting on it next week. That will be the final reading of the next year's budget. Under education, it's continuing operations as normal. The mayor's budget proposed a 4% cost of living increase. I'll get back to that later. It's also no cost school lunches for all MNPS students. So it doesn't matter who you are, what family you come from. When you go to school, you will have a free meal waiting for you. A $55 million total increase in employee pay, one of the largest pay increases in Metro history. Again, a 4% cost of living increase. I'll come back to that later. 3% merit increases for all eligible employees. And then some changes and adjustments to public safety in order to improve recruitment and retention of public safety employees. Getting to public safety. We will finally have enough staff to fully staff the new 9th precinct that will be in Antioch. By opening that 9th precinct is going to help both South and Hermitage precincts. Because right now, Hermitage precinct stretches from Napier, Sudicum downtown, out to here, Old Hickory, Mount Juliet, and parts of Antioch. And the South precinct is basically South Nashville. So by opening the Southeast precinct, South and Hermitage precincts will be able to get smaller, which will allow for those patrol officers more time to spend in the community and hopefully decrease answer times. Also funding Chief Drake's new school security initiative that he started after the shooting in Texas, and that we saw renewed interest after the unfortunate events at Covenant earlier this year. Chief Drake also is getting a specialized entertainment district unit, which is about 50 police officers that patrol just Lower Broadway and downtown. I personally have issues with this. I believe we should be using that money to ensure we have enough police for our neighborhoods. That this is just another way we're using your tax dollars to benefit tourists when it should be benefiting you. So I'm seeking ways to divert that funding to either hire more police for our neighborhoods or to hire different other staff in other departments that will help improve quality of life here in the residents out here. And we're increasing the staffing level of MNPD by 50 new officers. So 50 new positions are being funded in this budget. Most of those will go to staff our 9th precinct. We're also getting 41 new firefighters in this budget. This is going to be the first time in 20 years our fire department will be fully staffed. Think about that. 20 years we've been understaffed in our fire department. And sadly, even at full staff, we're still not where we need to be for a city our size. But I'll take the small victories when we can get it. We're also getting 49 new EMS and medic personnel and a behavioral health specialist. Then under the Office of Family Safety, we're getting a long-term care coordinator and a director for public outreach. Under infrastructure and transit, we're getting expansion of the litter program, more street sweeping across the city, streetscaping maintenance, so trees, flowers, shrubs around some of our streetscapes, improving our right-of-way stripping so that there'll be more, you won't see any more faded lines on the road, that they're going to do a better job of making sure those are fresh and bright and easy to see. And better transportation planning. One of the benefits of having the Department of Transportation and why I voted for it is because it's helping us win federal contracts and federal grants so that we can improve transit across the city. Under waste services, there's some contractual increases that we have to pay for, and then we're doing additional vehicle rentals. One thing we've seen in the last year since COVID, it's getting harder and harder, and it takes longer and longer for new vehicles to come online. And so in the meantime, while we're waiting for those new vehicles that we ordered to arrive, we have to rent vehicles in order to maintain our fleet and maintain quality services. So we're renting out until those new vehicles come, and when those new vehicles get here, we'll stop renting. But in the meantime, we're renting. Under health and social services, they're expanding the Partners in Care program to 2 more police precincts. Hermitage Precinct was one of the very first precincts that had this program, and they've been doing an amazing job, and I'm glad to see that we're expanding. At this point, I think we're going to have maybe 1 or 2 more precincts that have not expanded. Also, more funding for REACH, which stands for Responders Engaged and Committed to Help program. There will be additional interpretation services and additional security services at Metro Health facilities. Under the Office of Homeless Services, this is a brand new office that we created this term. The purpose of this office is to help tackle and assist our unhoused community and to hopefully reduce the number of unhoused encampments we have across the city and trying to get these individuals into housing and to get them the support services they need to stay off the streets. And so with the starting of this new department, there's $750,000 in community partnership grants that are being funded in this budget, and another $500,000 in housing and support services grants to further assist getting people the help they need and to get them off the street. Parks. So in Southeast Nashville and Antioch, there will be a regional park. It's Mill Ridge. It should be opening within the next year. On the Donaldson Hermitage side, we're getting our own regional park. It's going to be called Ravenwood. It should be opening later this year as well. There's funding for expanding Old Hickory Community Center. We're also putting in the funding so that all parks, community centers can be open on Saturdays. And we're also addressing additional maintenance needs across our parks. With libraries, we're expecting the Donaldson branch to be open by spring of next year. NASA transportation to help people attend the after-school programs. Equal access programming. Votes for Women programming. And then funding for additional children's libraries across the system. Under general government, the Metro Council is getting some extra funding so that we can have a Kurdish translation for closed captioning. The last couple of years, we were able to get Spanish translation services, both on closed captioning, plus a in-house translator for public hearings. So next, because Kurdish is one of the second largest non-native languages spoken in Nashville, we decided Kurdish is the next one we should go for. And so there'll be Kurdish closed captioning on all Metro programming. So Channel 3 will have both Spanish and Kurdish options. Human resources, another study, shocker, about $1 million for an employee pay plan study. And then under general services, the creation of an overnight fleet maintenance program to help speed up the turnaround between vehicles that need to go into the shop. Regulations and inspections, there's going to be funding for additional property inspectors for codes and a dedicated staff for noise complaints. The Beer Board is creating an Office of Nightlife. This was on the news a couple of months ago. Mayor Cooper basically created a position and calling him the Night Mayor. So that, and this is a downtown-only entity to handle any kind of codes, health department, any kind of metro issues after hours. And then housing, we are contributing another roughly $24 million to the Barnes Fund. Now, with the general and debt fund balances, here's the good news. We actually ran a surplus this year. The general fund has a surplus of $125 million. Our general debt surplus is about $12 million. So that means last year when they were cooking up the numbers for the budget, we were lower than what we actually brought in. So we actually made money this year. And so that's a good thing because now we can, hold on, where is it? Oh, there it is. So we can use that $126 million to fund one-time capital expenditures. A lot of that money is going to go into NDOT, so you're going to see more sidewalks being built. You're going to see every council district with at least one traffic calming program. In District 13, that's going to be Wimberton Drive over by the lake. So they're getting some funding this year for that. And then there's $12 million dedicated to improving infrastructure along the entire stretch of Murfreesboro Pike. That includes sidewalks and crossings. So speaking of sidewalks, if you live on Winthorne Drive, you've been seeing and hearing for years about a sidewalk. Well, starting June 1st, earlier this month, that project began. And so expect that to be finished about this time next year. Now, this was first approved 6 years ago, so that shows you the pace of how these things move. We're hoping to speed that up. But if you're on Winthorne, you're finally getting your sidewalk. And just a reminder, if you are a resident of House District 52, which is the majority of District 13, tomorrow is the primary election for that special election. And then the general election is on August 3rd, the same time as the Metro General. And then early voting for Metro General election is July 14th. And so I would ask that everyone who's in House District 15 continue to support our current House Rep, Justin Jones. One last community update. The deadline to submit ideas for our participatory budgeting program was extended to June 20th. Basically what this is we approved $10 million to be used for a citywide, citizen-driven budget process. We started with a 35-member steering committee that came up with the rules. Now we have an advisory committee. I believe I see one of our members, Matt Faxon, who is our budget delegate. Their job will be, once all the ideas come in, determine which ones are qualified under the rules, and they'll set up the ballot. That ballot will be mailed to all Nashville residents ages 14 and up, starting in October. You fill that out and you send it back in, and the top items will be funded, and that $10 million will be dished out to those projects. So you have until June 20th. You can go to pb.nashville.gov, or you can scan this QR code. If you get my newsletters, it's in there as well. But if this is an opportunity, if there's more sidewalks you want, if there's a public park or area that you want to see playground equipment, or there's something that you want to see funded, here's your opportunity to submit that. With that, I will go ahead and invite our amazing police officers from Hermitage and South to come up here and kind of go over quickly the updates for public safety. And we'll start with Sergeant Weaver, who is the community liaison for Hermitage Precinct.
I noticed Councilman Bradford emphasized quickly. He's been to several community meetings with me, sometimes even today. I'm Sergeant Robert Weaver. I'm the community coordinator for Hermitage Precinct. For those that do know, Murfreesboro Road is currently the dividing line, as Councilman Bradford said. We go all the way from Lafayette and 2nd all the way to Murfreesboro and Bell, and everything essentially south of the Cumberland River to the Wilson County line. So that's Hermitage Precinct. We're one of the larger precincts. We're very happy to have the new Southeast Precinct coming online. Just very briefly to cover a couple of things. Right now our violent crime is down. So we're very happy about that. We've been making some progress on those. Thank you. We've got applause on here. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. We are up just a little bit year to date from last year. That said, the driver for Hermitage Precinct, as it is through most of the county, is theft from motor vehicles. I say it all the time. It becomes sort of a broken record. If you see me at your HOA or your community meeting, get in that 9 p.m. habit, lock your cars, take all your valuables, especially your guns out of cars. I'll make sure I'm clear because guns need to be not stored in your cars. The bad guys know that they're going to go hit those cars, and we deal with that. Hermitage Precinct has a large number of hotels and apartment complexes. We know that those hotels are prime targets for theft from motor vehicles. We've been working on a couple of those issues over the weekend when all of the country music fans from all across the known universe showed up. We were able to catch 2 subjects who were breaking into cars. We gave a little bit of a chase. They ran into a house. They fled on foot. Fortunately, the Midnight's officers are a little bit closer to their academy graduation size than I am, and they were able to catch those subjects. We posted that as a success on our Facebook page. Almost immediately, a citizen chimed in that one of those subjects had in fact stolen her car within the last couple of months. So, that said, as election season comes along, make sure you are communicating that crime is an issue you want addressed by those you elect. So, with that, I'll take, you're going to do questions at the end. I'll turn it over to Sal.
Pretty much the same thing what you said.
I've done this once or twice before.
Violent crime is down in South. What he said, theft from motor vehicles is always a problem. You got to make sure you lock your car and keep your guns out. And that's pretty much it. As far as crime, it's going pretty steadily down in violent crime. So if you have any questions.
We are working, we work with Sal very clearly. It's not that there's 2 different departments. Our officers are working day in and day out, especially along the Murfreesboro Road area. I will say also very quickly, we know that lake season is upon us. So those of you who are out along Bell Road, I got your phone calls, and some of you talked to me and got emails about the parking and the issues out there. Lake patrols will be starting. The Corps of Engineers has put that out. They partner with us. They hire off-duty officers to come out there and assist with issues at the lake properties. So those jobs will be starting this week. So, sure, go ahead.
Question for y'all.
Certainly.
What y'all do with the homeless people that kind of camp out close to the neighborhoods and kind of wander around?
Well, I was kind of hoping you weren't going to go there, but anyway, Metro Homeless Impact Division is the department that Councilman Bradford talked about. They deal with a coordinated response for homeless issues. They are the unit that handles getting people. They work with third-party partner organizations to get people into coordinated housing. The police, we respond for criminal activity. But homelessness in and of itself is not a criminal act, and we as a Metro government don't treat it as such because that's been the direction that we have received and how this community has wanted us to address that. That said, Homeless Impact Division, Councilman talked about the number of beds that are coming online. The point in time count from February is about 3,000 people either unhoused or unsheltered. And so they are working to address those. We know that some of those are chronically homeless, and some of the work that they are doing on the funding is going to give some beds and some wraparound services, because we know getting those folks into housing is a challenge because they're not going to have first last month's rent, driver's license, ID, proof of employment, all that. So it really, when you create housing for those folks, it takes a lot of wraparound services to be able to have a social worker, some security at those complexes, all that stuff to help get them plugged in and maintain that trajectory. So, Oh goodness. Yes, ma'am.
Is panhandling, isn't that illegal?
Yes, it is. It is illegal. And there are a number of, as the councilman said, we have a lot of calls, we have a lot of services. I get calls all the time from people that are frustrated because getting their burglary report, their break into motor vehicle, their car crash responded to. So we do have to do a prioritization of how we're going to deal with folks. We strongly encourage people to not be in the roadway because we know people in roadway lead to pedestrian crashes. Those almost always work out poorly for the pedestrian. We want people to stay out of roadways. That said, the officers, this department have to prioritize how we respond to calls. And if we're locking somebody up for what is essentially a small violation, that officer and then the delays of getting somebody to your crash, getting somebody to your burglary report, getting somebody to a domestic violence or another call that is very important and timely gets delayed because we have to triage those as we go. It is illegal. There are a lot of things, unfortunately, speeding. Maybe some of you all have seen that there were speeders out there. I don't know. One or two of you have emailed me, phone called me, let me know that that's a thing. Name any other street, yes. So we have to prioritize what we're handling and how we address those. We do the best we can, trying to make sure that we keep people that have called us from waiting get to them as quickly as we can. So we have taken efforts for folks that are engaged in criminal vice activity and other criminal activities. We work to address those.
So hold your questions to the end, because I want to make sure we get through everything that we have on the agenda. I'm sure Sergeant Weaver and everybody will be happy to stay as long as we need them, as long as there's no emergency. I may just jinx y'all, but
He might get a call.
if they get a call, just y'all know how to get in touch with him.
My contact information is on a super secret site called the World Wide Web, the internet. It's at Hermitage Precinct. One thing I would ask you to do, look at the crime mapping tool off the department website. It's a super tool that lets you know what crime is actually happening in your neighborhood. You can go back a week, you can go back 6 months. That lets you know what is really happening, as opposed to repeating a story that got heard and you saw on the internet. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank y'all. All right, so there's not a lot of development updates going on this quarter, but one individual already brought this up, and so I'm glad I already put it on here. So you remember, long ago, it used to be O'Charlie's, then became Ken's Sushi, then it was the Junction Pub and Grill. Now it's a foundation slab on the corner on the side of the road. So what that is, it's going to be a 7-Eleven. So there's not that many, when I first heard of this, like a gas station and not something else, but when you think about it, when you look at our stretch of Murfreesboro Pike, there's only one gas station. That's literally across the street from this, the map cut, which just spent over $1 million in renovations. Now you've got another brand new national chain investing in a new gas station in the area. Plus, there's not a lot of food options in the area. Well, included with this, 7-Eleven has a concept chicken restaurant called Raising the Roost. Chicken wings, chicken nuggets, chicken strips, chicken. So we'll have some new food options, even if they're not fantastic. But then for the last couple of years, I've had questions about the old Silverados on Kermit and Murfreesboro Pike. So right after I was first elected, the owners asked if I would be interested in doing a rezoning, because at the time, there's 3 different parcels that made up this property. The 2 facing Murfreesboro Pike were commercial, The one in the back was office. They wanted everything to be commercial. When I brought it to the community, it's like, okay, what types of businesses would you like to see in a proposed strip center? I got the information. I went back to the owner and said, let's do a specific plan or SP. That way, because the community said, no vape stores, no mattress stores, no alcohol stores. We want a doctor's office. We want a cafe. They gave a whole list. Best way to have done that would have been an SP. The owners decided they didn't want to go that route. So they got a special administrative approval from the planning director to basically condense all those properties into one and made it commercial. So as you can see, and as you've driven up and down Murfreesboro Pike, it's going to be a strip center, potentially offices up here, and then retail, and maybe a restaurant here on the corner. I have not seen any permits or anything pulled to kind of give any idea of what might be in here, but I'm keeping an eye out for that. And as soon as I see those permits pulled and know what's going in, I'll let y'all know. Now, for the real reason y'all came out tonight, not to see my beautiful face, but to learn more about what's going on with B&A, I want to introduce Lisa Lankford. She is a VP and Special Advisor? Strategic Advisor to B&A President Doug Crone. So, there you go. Good luck.
That's real quality with this crowd. Okay, so Councilman Bradford, last week he asked me if I would come and provide an update on things that are going on here. So I've got a couple of different areas in here that I'm going to talk about. I think I know just from some conversation in the last 24 hours which ones are of interest. So I'll go through the first one really quickly. The Genesco demolition. Assuming everyone has heard that we are demoing the Genesco building.
It's a landmark.
It was a rumor.
We are demoing it. A couple of years ago, Genesco who was the primary tenant, moved out of that building. The building was built in the 60s. We have had an assessment done. It is not viable to rehab it and bring it back into some type of commercial building. We are spending a tremendous, other way. There. We are spending a tremendous amount of money in security and repairs for a vacant building. I don't know if you heard, but last Christmas when we had the freeze, we had massive pipe breaks in that building. So we have a vacant building that's a risk to us, and we're going to have a demo. When it demos, if you look at that large, the Allen red, there'll be a perimeter fence around the demo area. The section in the middle is the Genesco building, which is being demoed. The parking lot to the right will remain. There are also some Metro leases in there. Those leases remain intact. The leases have a clause, a 2-year notification clause. We are not exercising any clause at this time, but they have the protection of a 2-year notification if we were to ask them to move. We're not doing that at this time.
When's the lease expire?
I'm thinking 5 to 7 years, but don't take my word on it. It's greater than 2 years. So we are demoing that. We're not throwing anybody out. And again, the building is not viable as a commercial building. It's from the 60s. We don't have a designated use for it at this time. We have no plans to build anything there. In the future, if something is developed on that property, if it's best used
because of construction, there is construction on top of where those cell phone lots were. The cell phone lots were too small. It was a daily complaint on the size of them, and they're a construction zone. The reason for that construction is we're widening the access road to the airport. It's a problem. I'm sure that you may have seen the backup trying to get into the airport. So we're widening that road. We put a new cell phone lot on Murfreesboro Pike over by Genesco. It has security. It has flight information screens. We see from the number of cars in it, it doesn't seem to be real popular. There's plenty of space. But we just want to make you aware of why we did it. It's 2.5 times the space that we had in the old lots. It does have security. Another thing that we see that we just want to educate the public on. You're going to the airport to pick up a friend, and the person's flight arrives at 1 o'clock. That doesn't mean to be at the curb at 1 o'clock, because that's when the flight is arriving. So we've posted this on the website. I'll put it here. If a passenger, you're picking somebody up at the airport, and the flight arrives at 1, if they don't have it, if they didn't check any baggage to go pick up, it's going to be about 15 minutes before they're going to be ready for you to pick them up. If they've got baggage and they've got to go to baggage claim, it's going to be about 30 minutes. So when we did the cell phone lot, we put the flight information screens in so you can see my friend is arriving on X flight. It has now landed. When it says it's landed, if they don't have bags, you got 15 minutes. If they do have bags, allow for 30 minutes. So you don't have to race over to the airport. We see every day, all day long, people who don't look very happy, and they're circling around the airport. We can tell they're there to pick somebody up. And they circle and they circle, so they're frustrated. It's creating more traffic. So your passenger's not going to be ready for 15 or 30 minutes. We've timed these. We've done so many time studies, driving from the cell phone lot, following the passenger flow, and it's 15 no bags, 30 bags. So we wanted to make you aware of it. And there's information screens there so you can see what's going on with your flight. Okay, talk about the backup. On I-40 getting into the airport when you're heading 40 eastbound into the airport. New signage will be installed by the end of July. We're working with the state on this. So right now when you exit, there's only one exit that says International Airport. Actually, both of those exits will get you into the airport. We're changing, the state is going to change the signing for us where 216B is going to say arrivals. 216A is going to be for departures. And then we're working with the lanes when you come on to try to keep the flows going. So by the end of July, you're going to have that. And our goal is that we're splitting the traffic in half. We're trying to get those backups getting into the airport. Has anybody experienced them? Yeah. Everybody? So that new signage is going up by the end of July. We're testing these right now, and it really helps.
Now, can I go back to the Genesco? You said for future use, to be used for aeronautical. It's not going to be used for the expansion of the runway.
The runway expansion is not going on to the Genesco property.
Ever? Where's the building?
Not where the building is.
Not worth the building.
I'm going to show you the map.
Everybody, like I said, there will be time for questions at the end.
This is all very informative. I want to make sure you're going to stand here and answer all of our questions. We're not on a time limit. Is that correct?
I'll stay a reasonable amount of time. Every question will be answered though.
Poor Lisa.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Ready. It may be email. Okay. I think most people are here to ask questions about the runway extension.
Yes.
This is a we want for this runway extension is for future direct service to Asia. Our north-south runways are currently 8,000 feet long. We need somewhere between 10,000 feet before we're ever going to get an airline to come here. Currently, there are 204 Japanese companies in Tennessee. Okay, so that is why we're proposing a runway. Now, I learned earlier this morning that there's been some information floating around that this is news. So we did a check just to verify. It has been published since the 2014 airport layout plan, which has been published on our website, the 2015 master plan update, and the current 2020 master plan all call for a runway extension. So this has been in the plans.
Can we just wait to the end, please? Thank you.
Actually, that's a good question.
I know we're all
Because this meeting was held.
Hey! Jump in your time.
No.
Take it outside.
No.
Now.
No.
Sergeant Weaver,
You know what? He doesn't own this meeting. We're the public.
Okay, let me continue to give you some information. Okay, the airport,
hey,
Hey, y'all. Let's just
I was about to hear.
Let's just be on
The public hasn't known, and we're very concerned.
and I apologize.
Very
I
concerned.
apologize, the public was not aware.
Yeah.
Okay. The airport,
those websites on a regular basis.
okay, the airport.
All your questions to the end, please.
Let me talk. Airports do a master plan approximately every 5 years. Okay? When a master plan is done, there are series of community town hall meetings. It's the law. FAA mandates that. So town hall meetings are a key way that we communicate runway, any type of expansion. Our entire master plan goes through a series of community meetings. Now, as I said earlier, the word proposed is key. For the past decade, we have proposed a runway extension to 2 left, 20 right. Okay? People may or may not have been aware of it, but it has been proposed for the last 10 years. We have been actively trying to get the FAA to authorize an environmental impact study for the proposed extension. We are still going back and forth. The FAA has not, we do not have a memorandum of understanding with the FAA to do an environmental impact statement yet. We cannot do anything without an environmental impact statement. So we are trying to take that first step. That process, once FAA says yes, we've got everything in place, we'll let you go solicit a contractor to do it. So once that happens, and we're nowhere near that point yet. Once that happens, we bring in a contractor who is managed by the FAA. This is an environmental impact statement. We pay for it, but the FAA manages that process. That process requires a series of community meetings. An environmental impact statement cannot be done without working with the community. It looks at every aspect of the proposed expansion. What does the construction do? What does the finished job do? Who is impacted? What in the environment is impacted?
Noise.
Noise is a huge part of an environmental impact assessment. So That would be the next step. Okay, once that happens, it is a minimum of a 2-year process for the EIS or impact statement to be completed. Minimum 2 years. Okay? Once it gets completed, FAA is going to issue their findings. Their findings could change this plan. They could put more restrictions. We don't know what the findings would show because the EIS has not been completed. That's why I say it is key. This is a proposed runway extension. It's not a set in stone plan. It's proposed. We'll continue to propose it. We'll continue to try to get the EIS, but it's not set in stone. The drawing that you see here, that is the proposed runway extension of 2 left, 20 right, going over Murfreesboro Drive. So that is what has been proposed in our map.
What is the definition of community in your?
My community would be the people that live in the surrounding area. We would reach out to our councilman. We would reach out to community representatives to get the information out. In our master plan community meetings, we typically have very good participation.
And y'all had a town hall, what, 2019?
Yes, there was a series of them. Where? 2019. I think they were at the library, but I'm not sure. The meeting materials, all master plan materials are available on our website. You'll see the presentations from the past community meetings, the actual master plan itself, our airport layout plan, all of that is available.
Can you tell us what we're looking at? I mean, I've lived here 65 years right here, but I can't tell what that is. The blue.
Is the purple Murfreesboro Road?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Murfreesboro Road
Okay.
right here.
And the runway's in the middle and the taxis are around.
Thank you.
Okay, how far is the taxiway gonna be from Knight Road?
It's on Knight Road.
It's right at it.
So it's right at it.
Yep.
Right there. I can't see that there. All of that is assessed in the EIS. The FAA is not going to allow us to do something irresponsible.
That's a matter of.
So what is the expansion there from one side to the other? What is the distance in between? Is that a mile?
Approximately 4,000 feet.
So, okay, so it's going to the right of it, how much is that going to go into the neighborhood? How far is that going to go into the right side where Genesco is on that map?
Genesco is right there. Yep.
Like
So you're going to go further to the right?
1,700 feet from Weaver, which is less than a quarter mile.
So is that gonna be on, the runway gonna be on the same side that the post office is down there on Knight Road?
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with where the post office is.
I think he's talking about the post office
Yes.
facility.
Post office.
It's exactly where the rabbit lights are. That come out of School Lane and Academy Park. Those rabbit lights are 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
There's two left. If you look at the rabbit lights, the runway will come right where those rabbit lights is. And it stops about
Hey, Ross.
Conquer Drive.
Ross.
What bridge is that?
Thank you, honey.
Stop about Conquer Drive.
Thank you.
Why are you not going to use 1331?
I got a good question. Why are we not using 1331?
Yes.
Good question. 1331 is our longest runway, but it's a crosswind runway. And on a hot summer day, with a fully loaded plane, the planes need to be flying into the wind. That's crosswinds. So we're never going to get major air service if we say you can fly on most days, but be able to take off.
How many times has that ever happened?
We don't know.
That's what, you mean those.
My understanding is when you're in the wind, it's going to be like, it's okay unless it's over 45 miles an hour.
Well, you're never going to get an air carrier to make a commitment to bring a flight here and say it's not always going to be available. You're never going to do it.
What about two centers? Why can't two centers be extended?
This was the plan that the master plan, the consultants that did the master plan, this was the one they recommended. Part of it, that's why I keep on calling them proposed, because that EIS, things could be shifted. And this is the proposed plan.
Why can't they just extend two centers? There's buildings, manufacturing. There's no homes right there. There's no homes. Those planes take off and immediately make right hand turn. Go right over the neighborhood all the time.
I can't say why this one was better than two center. I can tell you that the consultant looked at all the options and this was the one they felt was the best alternative.
But they didn't take into consideration the population that lives next to this thing. That's the problem. I mean, if you went east, I don't care if you go parallel to what you've got. If you go east, there's no homes over there. But over here, all these people live here. No, we don't like it.
If I'm not going to be acknowledged, then I will ask the question out loud. I've got my hand up. I've lived at my mom's house, my parents' house, going to be one day my house since '76. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the planes are not supposed to be coming over these houses on the other side of Night Valley. But they're doing it every day, and we have to call in to deal with it and complain about it for it to get better. So, if you have this on the master plan, I searched all over that website. I clicked on everything. It's hidden. If you guys were wanting us to not be scared and upset, we should have gotten proper notification from the B&A. Not somebody sitting there and then we have to do it. That's why everybody's so upset, is this meeting was hid, no matter how you say it.
Yep.
You call a spade, a diamond a diamond. And I said today, what's being done here is a prime example of you can't fix stupid. And that's exactly the way we've been treated. Like we don't matter, but we're the ones that voted you in. We're the ones that pay the taxes. And yet we're being ignored because of this.
It's $1 billion corporation over us. That's what the deal is. It's $1 billion industry over us.
I mean, you can't tell me that the Judesco building is being torn down unless you know something.
Keep it down so everybody can hear the questions and answers.
Lisa, this has been in the 10-year plan, you said, for this. Now, the other runway that runs parallel to it right there, they really started using that quite a bit Memorial Day weekend, which is pretty unusual, from what, I mean, I'm not always at our house there, but as much as I am there, it's not always there. You said that's about 8,000 feet. So really, that would only have to be extended to, or
they're all of our North South are 9,000.
So even to left, the one that you're talking about extending to bring it down here, so that other runway will not be enough to try to cater to the Japanese companies, the Asian companies.
We need the land. Yeah. It's not the volume; it's the land.
The link.
You were mentioning earlier that you need the FAA to approve this through a EIS and all that. And it sounds like you're very anxious for them to approve it, something that you want a lot.
Yeah.
So are there any interim steps that you're taking, perhaps with noise, perhaps with anything else, to mitigate noise
Property
or
value.
its impact
environmental assessment is what will deliver a plan, it will deliver the requirements, it will deliver anything that must be mitigated. So it's a study. That's what we're trying to do.
If they find something out there.
Part two, oh, I'm sorry, part two. I think a big issue that we've all experienced here is of being alerted to these things. And I know that there were town hall meetings, and I found that out way after the fact in 2018 or 19, and apparently nothing is mailed U.S. Postal Service. It's on the off chance that we check the website, or that we look at the Tennessean on the website, and that doesn't work. And I also kind of wondered if that's an issue with discrimination. In other words, not everybody has access to the internet or whatever. So, do you mail things out, or is it on us to search?
We can look at improvements to the way communication
That was the question that you haven't answered.
Everyone, it's 7 o'clock. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So after this gentleman's question, I'm going to try and go through the ones that were already submitted. And then if there's any time left over, we can take some more questions. So, your question, sir.
So, just for context, I own a home that is approximately about 2.5 blocks over. My windows often rattle with the flight path. So I understand your concerns, and I really think it would be helpful to share a lot of the studies and meeting minutes and things like that you may have previously done in these meetings you're talking about. If you can get, maybe Russell, you could assist getting some sort of mailer out to help share that information. We can see what acoustical studies, seismic studies you guys have done. I've done commercial development on large scales all across the country for the last 10 years. I understand what you guys are trying to do. I understand the clearances and the widths and accommodations you're going to need for this type of extension. So I really think that would be helpful.
I'll work with Councilman Bradford there's a lot of stuff out there, and I'll work with Councilman Bradford on better ways to.
And when you signed in, there's a spot for you to put your email and say you wanted to get my newsletters. So if I got your email, when we get this information, that'll be an easy way. Plus, if you're on social media, follow me on social media, follow the District 13 page on social media. Those are some of the easiest ways to get the information out. If there's other ways that you would prefer, let me know. So that's some of the questions we've already got. So this one I think may have been answered already, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. The context being homeowners near airports are sometimes entitled to reduced or no-cost soundproofing reimbursement. Is there plans for this, or how will the neighbors being impacted by the noise? How will the airport? All right. Homeowners near airports are sometimes entitled to reduced or no-cost soundproofing reimbursement. The availability of these programs are typically dictated by the noise exposure map. Will the 60 decibel boundary of the 2020 NEP be updated due to the 2L20R runway expansion?
Noise would be part of the environmental impact statement.
And this is the second time that noise and everything in these neighborhoods have gone through. Because we went through it when they built the first runway across Birmingham Road.
In 1987 and 1988, they put the windows on.
And then now you can't even get your windows fixed. You have no way to get them fixed. You don't have any way to come.
All right. Next question.
So wait, did that question get answered? I apologize.
Noise is a part of the environmental impact statement that is required prior to anything happening.
Did you not do your motion before you submitted this to the FAA? I work in a regulated environment, and we have a plan. We have an environmental impact study of our own that we take for them, and they approve it or disapprove it.
Very good. That's a very good question. Yes. Under FAA guidelines, it can be an environmental assessment is the first step. The FAA would not accept an environmental assessment. They wanted the full-blown environmental impact statement FAA managers. So if he attempted to do an environmental assessment, they required the environmental impact statement. So they raised it the bar on it.
Do you know if there are any reasons property may be purchased outside of this direct proposed map related to the expansion? So would there be any other properties not impacted by this that the airport would purchase?
Anything that we're looking at purchasing now, I would have to go to our real estate group. I would need, whoever asked that question, if they want to send in details on the property you're asking about, we can do this evaluation.
What's the closest airport that's Asia Air Services in relationship to Nashville? In Atlanta?
But this is not just for Asia. It's just for organizations.
She's got her in.
Okay.
She's had her in there for a while. So let's acknowledge her.
So will the expansion have a positive or negative impact on quality of life in our local neighborhood, which is Seven Oaks? On our neighborhood environment, specifically air quality, more exhaust, more noise pollution, and bigger planes. And property values, question mark.
That's a lot of questions.
All that's part of the environmental assessment.
Well, I would imagine that the,
So you know it will have a negative impact. You know it will. Period. Yes, it will. It will have a negative
Well, somebody acknowledge her. She's had her hand up.
So the questions were proposed, you're not going to read all the questions that were submitted? You're hinting what you want to choose.
Because a lot of them are the same question asked a different way. I'm not going to ask the same question
You didn't
5
answer
times.
any of my questions. Has the permit been pulled by the airport yet? Has the permit been pulled by the airport yet for civil or underground irrigation out there on your runway extension?
No, it's not an approved project.
Even on airport property, you are not putting a storm drain in right now for extension?
Not for the extension.
Let her answer the question. Ask her a question.
As I said earlier, we'll get through these, and if we have time, we'll get to them.
You are so daggone disrespectful to your constituents.
There's a rule to this meeting.
She's got her hand up.
We go through these. If we have time left over, we will take
You're going to stay here and answer all the questions. Or else we're going to raise one kind of a fuss about it.
So why is, I think this was already answered earlier, but I'll ask it again. Why is B&A making it very difficult for finding information about the international runway? What's going to be done when property values go down because of the runway? Did you get that one? Okay. Just for the, would you go ahead and answer it again?
Yeah, the question was, what is the airport doing to improve communications about the runway? Sharing with you now where we have it, and Councilman Bradford and I will see if there's any way we can do partner together to better get people directed to here, to our information. The other question was regarding property values, and the impact of this extension will be a part of the environmental assessment.
Amount of green space, well, the amount of green space increase around the new runway.
It'll have the same tolerance. It'll be standard tolerances.
I can't hear you back here.
Can you repeat?
Space around the runway. The question was space around the runway. Space around the runway will follow the standard FAA requirements for runway safety areas.
What will be done for residents? What is the radius of properties that will be purchased? What will be done to reduce noise and air pollution? If residents can't move, what concessions will be made for them?
So, whenever the study is done, we all know there are properties person must be given enough money to relocate to a comparable property.
And then
What's comparable money?
At the time of, at the 5 years from now.
What does it
So in other words, when the property value actually drops, that's when you're going to be looking to buy the properties. Not with what they are now, because you know nobody's going to want to live next to a runway like this was being proposed.
That's why you need a lawyer. That's right. When you get a lawyer.
Pull your comparables now and know what your home is valued at now at the point of your initial information. Fair enough?
All the homes in this area, once they get a fair market price, we cannot live in Nashville.
It's right.
There's a period on
So this next question was, why wasn't a proper notice for this meeting for the B&A part of tonight's meeting? As I said earlier, this started as my normal quarterly town hall meeting. Then when the news of the Genesco demolition hit the media, people started asking about if it's part of the runway expansion. So I went ahead and added that as part of this meeting. This was not a B&A meeting. This is not something they have to do. This was just my typical quarterly town hall. It happens that everything was able to line up, that we were able to bring them here.
Russ, do you know that we got letters on our mailboxes Friday? I found mine was found by my lawn guy in the yard.
Yeah, I don't know who sent out those letters because it didn't come from me.
Well, obviously, y'all didn't want to see it at all.
And we're on Kirby, so.
When was this planned? This runway extension?
10
What
years
year?
ago.
Do you know?
In 2014, the first recommendation was on our ALP in 2014. The document you're looking at right there is from 2020. The town hall meetings related to this document were in 2019.
We're all just hearing about it now.
How were those communicated to our neighborhood council?
There was a series of communications. I would have to check. I have to check. I can tell you I can get that information.
Can you say the question louder? Because there was a lot of people talking.
How were these town hall meetings communicated with people in 2019 and 2020? Were they communicated via postal mail? Were they communicated via email? Were they communicated solely on your website? Were they communicated on Facebook?
How were they communicated? There was a communications plan. I'll get the record.
Was that your recovery?
Yes.
The woman in the Wake Forest.
For God's sake, answer her question. She's been holding her hand up.
I just pointed to her.
No, her.
You bypassed her.
Ma'am in the gray
That's
sweater.
discrimination. Why don't you answer your question?
So my question is if this is proposed in 2014, I moved here a little over a year ago, I would never have bought the property. I don't know.
Yes.
No one knows anything. I called her today. Nobody knows anything. 2014, this was last year, I sold my place in Germantown to move here because I needed more land in my home office.
There's people remodeling.
I would have purchased
Building
new.
There's people building new that's going to be affected by this. There's people remodeling a house right there in the airport estates that they plan on taking. They didn't know nothing about this.
At the corner of School Lane and the
Yeah.
Was made. There had to be some sort of study. And what was it based on? Based on what kind of study was it proposed that this is the perfect place for a runway?
A consultant did it.
But what did they study?
What's
What benefits the B&A?
She's trying to answer the question.
The study, the most recent airport master plan was completed by AECOM. It was an airport plan. They have a variety of.
Can't hear her, you guys.
Sorry, Lisa.
So it was a company that's specified in airport planning and development. This was kind of already answered as we don't know, but what is the timeline for property acquisition? And you've already answered, will there be relocation assistance?
Yes.
Will the airport expansion take Seven Oaks Park? Will the expansion take Seven Oaks Park?
There's currently 19 homes identified that it may take. How many? There are currently 19 homes. If this plan stays as is, there are 19 homes in that area.
And those homes are on Weaver?
No.
Where are they at?
Airport State area.
Airport State.
That's still 1,700 feet from Weaver.
So based on this proposal, getting back to the question about the park, based on this proposal, looking at this map, it doesn't look like it takes any of the park. It's just the whole
Nobody lives
airport
in the
estates.
park. Nobody lives in the park. People live on Weaver, which is closer to the park. Huh? Well, they don't pay rent. I'll put it that way.
Do you know how far down Curry Road this and future expansions will go? Noise, we'll talk about that, we'll talk about that. Can a recap of these meetings be mailed, emailed? So again, if I've got your email, I'll be happy to send a summary. I've also been recording this on Facebook, and I'll be putting that online as well. If you have access to the internet, you can rewatch this meeting there. You'll get a recap in my newsletter. And if I need to do a separate email just to recap everything tonight, I'll be happy to do that.
Here's the problem. My father's 80 years old. He lives on Curry Road. He does not have internet. He doesn't do what.
Make sure I have
He
his.
needs something mailed to his house.
Make sure I have his address. I'll be happy to mail something to him.
My mom's 87. She doesn't use the internet.
I would go check the website.
What is the plan for road construction, road closures, detours, now and in the immediate and over the course of the construction period?
That plan will be developed. It's the question that Councilman Bradford just asked, if he's referring to road closures related to the runway extension, that plan has not even been developed. This is not a development plan. This is waiting a study and an approval to go forward. That's a plan to be developed. If you're asking about our terminal area roadway project, TDOT is doing the Thompson Pike realignment, and we're working hand in hand with them to increase the size of our terminal area roadway.
One more question here, then I'll go to you, sir, and then to you. Go ahead and answer your question. I need to understand this one.
When you do the environmental study, can you please contact the Department of Wildlife and see, do you have any clue how much wildlife, deer, raccoons, foxes, birds,
Wildlife assessment is a part of that study.
We'd like the deer to come in our yard.
Will you make sure whatever wildlife
She's more concerned about
assessment
that, so
gets to the councilman, that he can forward out to us?
It is public, a public study.
And there was some questions and concerns about finding the master plan. Even I had difficulty. So she's emailed me a link. I'll make sure to get that out to folks.
And the map's on there as well?
Yeah, that's where all this came from. So either email me, stop me as we're walking, make sure that I have a way to get that information to you, whether it's email, social media, or snail mail. You, sir.
At the community meetings in 2019, there were 3 options for runway extensions that were proposed by MNAA. This was one of them. The other one was to extend the runway to the east of the airport, to the north and to the south. The third was to build an entirely new runway even farther to the east.
Yes.
Are those options still on the table? Has this become the primary option? And if so, when was that decision made? And why was the communication to the neighborhood so poor?
This was, there were three options in analysis. This was the primary option recommended by the master plan.
Because
There was issues, when you go to the other side, there were terrain issues, cost issues with the runway, lots of terrain issues on that side. So this was the recommended option. An environmental assessment has not been done. Until that happens, this does not become the official model.
You need to push this to the east because all these people are being affected by this decision.
Okay, I'll get this one out to you.
I'm just wondering, because we all feel a little out of the loop here. I don't want us all being down the road 5 years from now, 10 years from now, knowing about more proposals that you guys have coming. So this is here. What else is there that you guys are looking to do? Because you're talking about 19 homes right now, but when we look at that map and we see the assessment where there's sound insulation or it says like residential sales assistance, that happens like one house next to me. How is there sound there but not my house? So I just would like to understand the full scope. I know you can't answer that today. I get the master plan idea, but if this goes through, what's next?
What's next?
Well, kind of following up on your question, which was kind of like, how does the community stay informed of what's going forward? The question was basically directed to me, what's my plan going forward to keep the community informed on progress and implications of this work? So that's where I'm going to continue my work with B&A as stuff develops. If they finally get to a point where they start moving forward, I'm going to expect that they reach out to me and say, okay, we're on to the next step. Let's let the community know if there's something else that happens on another part of the airport. My expectation is, and I've so far had some very good communications with B&A, that they'll let me know, and I will, if it's something that can just go out in a newsletter to let people know, I can do that. I'd be more than happy to have town
My
halls,
fear is
meetings
just
like
if
this.
you do this residential sales assistance situation, right, and you don't jump in on it because in this particular model, you're not affecting my home next door, but I want to know what you're going to do next so I can take advantage of any potential opportunities that you're offering the people that you're impacting, because you're impacting so many more of them. That's just the way I see this going. You keep saying proposed, feels kind of done, so I'm trying to understand where we can really see this thing go.
Will you, as our representative, help convince these people that they need to look at other options besides this one? There's too many, the population is greater here than it would be east. You need to be on board with us to satisfy us.
Whatever is within my power, because the airport is not a city entity. It's completely independent and governed by the state and federal government.
They have a reputation.
So I will do whatever I can that is allowed with my position to advocate on behalf of the community.
Russ, I have a question from Mrs. Curry.
Yes.
Mrs. Curry, who has held down the largest chunk of this property for so long and has given us amazing, bountiful forest for us to live in. She has a question about if we could maybe possibly discuss future noise abatement because it is already so intense.
Yes.
As the airport has grown, the noise has grown, and they were generous enough to give us some really great noise insulation when they really expanded back decades ago.
30 years ago.
We are back to the point where the expansion, the influx of Nashville is affecting us every day, every night. 2 noise machines. Mrs. Curry is hard of hearing, and it's still loud.
So my answer to that question, I've spoken to people over the last couple of months in other parts of my district and in Dawson about noise issues. I have started a dialogue with Congressman Rose's office, who's our new congressman in this area, to see if maybe getting the FAA and B&A to come to the community at a minimum once a year or twice a year, just so the community can have an opportunity to say, here's the issues we're having with the noise. Here, issue XYZ and give the FAA and the airport opportunity to either explain them, address them, or take those back and work on improving them.
And I thank you. I thank you for that. And I'm going to make sure that you recognize that this is a problem. It's got to be talked about. Please bring it to the table with the board. Please.
And his office has reached out to us.
We understand the study has to get approved, yada, yada, yada. Please bring it to the table with the board.
Next card, and then I think you were the had the hand up. Okay. All right. So this one that I'll get to use. All right. Whoever's got the next hand will after this one. So this is not related to the airport, but this is question time. Emailed to you about a bullet-ridden vehicle left beside the road on the corner of McGavick Pike and Murfreesboro. It's used by the businesses on the corner. I've emailed Hub National twice. So if this is about an abandoned car, we've had issues across the entire city. The vendor that Metro Codes used to use to tow away abandoned vehicles did not renew their contract. And Metro Codes has been trying to find a new vendor. They sent out an RFQ about a couple months ago. Nobody responded. So right now, Metro doesn't have a vendor to tow away cars. Now, the example to the rule on that, if it is causing a serious public safety issue, like if it's in the middle of the road or it's blocking line of sight, if it's causing a negative impact of public safety, then MMPD can then get that car towed. But if it's just sitting on the side of the road, not near an intersection, we're just having... Unfortunately, we have to wait on it.
It is near an intersection. And I have the opportunity to see it every morning I'm going to work and every morning, every evening when I'm coming from work. And it wouldn't happen in Brentwood. It would have been picked up. This is my Brentwood. And I would like to see it going. I've talked to the owner. It's okay with him. He's going to move it. I've emailed you. I've emailed Hub Nashville twice, and nothing's there. So what else do I do? Where do I go from here?
I've got your email. I'll find where you email me and make sure that that gets over to the MMPD for them to check and make sure that's something they...
Thank you.
All right.
Danielle had a question back there.
Who had the question back here?
Danielle.
Danielle, you're next.
With the demolition of the Genesco building, will there be blasting to take that down?
What?
Blast to take that down? Because a lot of our homes were affected with the Night Valley Drive.
I'm not sure because they're right now on the design on how.
So when you find out about that, let me know, and I'll send it out. All right, if this is the last card, then we'll go back to people in the audience. It's already 7:29, so just be mindful that this might be the last few questions we can take. So this question is basically about cleaning up Mill Creek up on Curry Road, trash in the bushes. I'll forward this to NDOT and our beautification commissioner and see if we can get some work done on Mill Creek. Okay. You, and I think you are next, and then...
Count of two for one for you, one for them.
Okay.
What is the percentage chance that they actually approve your proposal? The FAA. Do you have a sense of the chance?
Wait, have you ever done this before?
I will not speculate.
Have you ever done this before? This type of thing for any other airport? Have you ever done this type of proposal for any airport? Been an advisor for any other airport in the United States have done a proposal like this?
This is my first one.
It's the first time you've ever done an airport proposal, a runway extension.
DNA?
No, any airport, anywhere in the country. Have you ever done a runway expansion proposal? Have you been involved with that? Okay.
So, moving Donaldson Pike right now, so you can get your taxiway clearance, right? There's also a proposal for a second terminal inside that proposal. At the end of the study, the maximum capacity terminals we have. I can only assume that if you're coming across Murfreesboro Road and building that runway,
will be full at about 35 million passengers. We're at about 22 million right now.
You want a 63% increase in that as well.
There will be a second terminal.
Yeah, okay.
If you read the master plan,
That's good. You just told me what I need to know.
Where-
Question to you. Where do you stand on this? Are you advocating for us, or are you trying to get both sides to get to the best deal?
20 years.
As I said to the gentleman before, within my ability, I'm going to advocate for the community, but I'm going to set the realization out there. Since this is not a metro entity, this is.
Where do you stand as my councilor on this? Do you oppose it or do you approve it?
That says it.
The city, as we've seen, the city is growing. There's no stopping it.
Hey, I hear it, girlie. I know this. Do you stand for this or are you opposing it? What is your position?
I want to make sure that the final product has as little negative impact to the community as possible. This is one of those things. We can't stop. Hold on. We can't stop it completely. But whatever I can do to advocate.
Oh, yes, we can.
Hush! I'm talking right now. Anything that I can do to advocate on behalf of the community to get, whether it's soundproofing, whether it's get better options for relocation, whatever I can do, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, 90 at my house. 96 at my house.
Yeah, I bet. I can't talk to the phone because I work from home. I have to mute my calls in my meetings. Right now.
sit out in your yard.
Right?
Every 30 seconds.
So you can sound.
And that's not, we surely don't make that much closer to my house.
I'm trying to listen to this gentleman, sir.
As my council person, do you represent me or the airport?
I have to represent both entities.
Why? Why would you have to
Corporations don't vote, people
represent them?
From day one, I've decided if I have an adversarial relationship with the airport, then my ability to advocate for you would never happen because they would never work with me or listen to me. So I have to not only represent you as the voters and taxpayers, but also maintain a good relationship with the airport so that when we have issues like this, I can go to them knowing that they are going to give their time and taking me and the concerns of the citizens seriously.
Hey guys, I've lived here for 7
We have time for 2 more questions. This lady's had her hand up for a while.
You're talking about doing another terminal.
Can't hear.
She's talking about somebody was talking about doing another terminal because of more traffic. I think Nashville and the airport need to think about a second airport somewhere else.
Exactly.
Other cities have 2 airports.
That's a true.
John Toots or Smyrna.
Yes.
They're like Dallas Fort Worth.
Lisa, is it true that you've already bought some houses recently? The airport, have they bought houses recently in this area?
We have bought some houses, whenever a house becomes available, if it's anywhere near our area of potential, we buy.
But is it recently you bought some houses? Because that was in the news apparently
Within the
yesterday.
last probably 6 to 12 months, there's been some purchases.
And how many houses have you bought in the last 6 months in this area?
I'm going to guess 2, 3.
Okay, so, but in the future that will happen.
Are y'all bidding on that online auction, on that undeveloped land across from Bell Road that runs by Priest Lake, since y'all are buying up houses and property? Because we don't need any more stuff out by our lake and out where we have natural resources.
All right, final question because we're already past 7:30. The gentleman in the blue shirt.
So my concern is around what happened with runway 2R20L when it was closed. All correspondence from that, it was closed, and then it was rebuilt. And then if you look at the permits, I've looked through all of them. I read hundreds of pages on the permits of it, recycling the old permits. So avoiding engaging the community, avoiding to more capabilities and even a new permit, and that's not what happened. And it said it was grandfathered and under the old operating permit. It was not built to spec. It was built to handle more traffic and larger. And my concern is that the ethics that are driving DNA to try to push these plans through, because there was no communication on this either.
It is so loud every day, all day long, every 2 minutes.
Right.
From 5 o'clock in the morning until 10:30, 12, up to midnight. I mean, no, there is no midnight.
Yeah. Lisa, if you can answer that yes question, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. I've heard several comments on communication. We will look at how we're communicating and see how we can work together to communicate some of this stuff out.
We want you to
You
move
avoided
it
all the
east.
studies. You avoided all the studies when you reopened 2R20M. You said it was grandfathered when it clearly wasn't. It was in March.
How is it going to be better to move it closer to the people? These people, 80, 85 decibels, 90 decibels, 95 decibels. How is it going to be better moving it closer to me? Explain that.
All right, so
Does it get quieter as you get closer?
we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, but we'll be here for a couple more minutes as we're taking everything down. So if anybody else has further questions, just feel free to come up to us afterwards. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. So with that, thank you. Have a good evening. If you have more questions, just come on up.